Thank you very much. We've been grazing crops for a long time now, since back in the 1930s. A lot of it was just oats or opportunistic grazing of paddocks, rather than something sown specifically for feed back at that time, the cereal crops. But over time we've got winter wheats have been developed for probably 30 years. Now we have winter canola, and we've been playing around with grazing spring crops as well. But it's been hard to make recommendations on how to manage those crops, but we've pulled together some information in here that helps you make those decisions. So the information was generated from the Grow to Graze program in this book, which ran from 2003. Here's just a map showing the regions over time, up to 2016, with a variety of funding bodies over that time. And there were three sort of main sections to it. One was about feed base, one was more about the system and rotations, and another one was about managing risk and making decisions. So, chat about the book. The book's divided into, it takes you through the journey, I suppose. Firstly, considering about the whole system. What are the opportunities and potential downsides to grazing the crop? How to grow the crop, grazing management, and some of those other considerations. If we have a look at the livestock operation, some of the values are filling feed gap, land pastures to build up, place to park stock or spray, and worm-free paddocks. Some of the costs, you might have to put some mineral sups out, be careful with use, late pregnancy, and using fencing, temporary fencing. And then there's the ones to the cropping side as well. So value, you can use it to manage large canopies and reduce lodging and the like. You can avoid frost because it delays maturity. And some of the costs. So you've got to be careful about managing that grain yield penalty at the end of the year if that's what's important to your system. And also the whole farm value. So you can use it to increase your overall profitability. You may be able to sow some more crop or run some more stock, but it's all about that balance. Using all the trial results, we put them into a big database and then punched out some graphs. And so here's wheat and barley at 6 and 5 weeks. And then at 9 weeks, and it shows how much feed can be generated, but also the range in that feed availability. So it's part of managing your risk, I suppose. You can have an average value, but actually can be quite a broad range, so depending on your season. That's for a low rainfall area. And there's also data for a high rainfall area. And in the back of the book, there's some decile tables that tell you how much feed to expect with different decile starts to the year. So we got the graphs, but we didn't actually generate pictures for it. And then there's some other tables, putting together that data again, showing feed quality for the different crop types in terms of digestibility, energy and protein. What's the risk to grain yield? In the middle column there, 33% of the time from all the trial data, yield was the same if you manage it correctly. 29% it increased, 37% of the time we suffered losses. And so it'll discuss in the top red there why some of those losses occurred around that grazing management. Grazing management crop choice in that topic. So I'm not talking specifically about things, but just what's in the book and how you can use it. So it's about paddock choice, when to sow and how to grow more feed. And choosing the crop type. So basically research showed that all crops can be grazed, but it'll be the type of crop, so whether it's wheat or barley or canola or whatever, and its management, so that agronomic management and grazing management is going to have more effect on the performance than the actual specific variety itself. So if you need, in choosing the variety, it's probably better to talk to your local people or try and get some local trials to generate that information. And all the things that went into the trials, the ideas came out of groups like BestwoolBestlamb and our other grower groups and what they were doing and how we made comparisons. Got some pictures about when to start grazing and a guide around that, suggesting about the grazing intensity, perhaps not grazing so hard down to the white line, which takes a lot for the plant to recover, but just clip grazing. That came from some demonstrations as well as trials. discuss the stocking rate and utilisation of that paddock. If you get a crop that you want to harvest later on, you don't want it all uneven and having different maturity across the paddock. The better you can keep that even, the easier it will come at harvest time later. And how to influence that stocking rate. That's not always easy up in that part of the country, but in the lower rainfall areas, big paddocks. We were talking about mob size earlier. And some direction on when to stop in terms of plant maturity, whether you're grazing with cattle or sheep, whether you have irrigating crops, you can go a bit later, and obviously you can go multiple times as well. The effect on crop maturity. If you've got an early sown crop, you may delay maturity, so you might avoid a frost because it's pushing out the maturity, but then it might push it into a dry period during spring later on too. So just keeping in mind, and a rule of thumb there from WA about how many days that is. There's some comment around animal health. I think we're still working that out a little bit through research up in New South Wales and people's own experiences, but some guidelines around that. And some other considerations. What's it going to do to your stubbles? Is it going to impact your weeds? Are they going to bury more seeds? We're finding most of the time, no, they don't. Whether there's any impact on the soils, and certainly with lighter soils, there isn't. I had a question earlier about pugging, and they actually found that impact, even though it's quite visual, is quite short-lived, and the crop recovers, just performs fine the following year anyway. And also crop disease. So that's a really quick buzz through. So there's a lot of aspects to it because it's about the whole system, it's about your whole farm, and it can all be found there.
Great, thanks Alison. We'll flick now to David and Steve, who are going to talk about the development of their manual for assessing feed on offer.
Okay, they've trusted me with the electronics this time. I'm a mixed farmer growing cereal crops and running a self-replacing merino flock on 1,800 hectares in the Lower Brim East area, up in the 350 theoretical millimetre rainfall zone. 1,200 hectares of crops each year, 400 hectares of fallow and 200 hectares of vetch, which is the main feed source for the sheep. In past years we always used to get good meaty growth on our fallow, less of that now, but the reality is to feed the sheep they spend some time in the stock containment area, they spend time grazing cereals, time on just that waste fallow ground and until it's sprayed out, and also on their veg pasture. So as the years have gone by, always wanted to try and improve my skill base in agriculture. Tried for a number of years to try and get some Lifetime U Group or BestwoolBestlamb Group operating in the area. Eventually in 2014 got a Lifetime U Group up and running, which was being facilitated by Steve, and we were all very frustrated that the resources that came along with that course were tailored to areas different to us. High rainfall, perennial pastures, not the annuals that we use in our area. So that difference created the problem. So it's, as it says there, it's very easy to determine the quality. Well, it looks terrible, it looks nice, but the reality is we don't know. So what do you do about it? And so initially, as part of doing Lifetime U, we'd walk into a paddock, do a few calibration cuts, but we're not talking about pure pastures ever. It's, as you can see there, there's a mix of cereals in there with the veg, and our guesstimates weren't really that good. And as you can see, in general, we're actually overestimating what was there. So that creates the expected problems. So So we sort of thought, what are we going to do about it? And we sort of were making odd cuts here and there. We were discussing about, after harvest we should walk into a few stubbles, do a bit of, just put together an unofficial record of what feed is available in the various feeds that we do graze our crops on. We were very lucky that one of our Lifetime U Group members is our local land care coordinator. And he came along to one meeting one night and made us aware of some funding opportunities that were available. So we decided to use that to apply for a grant through the land care to make a feed on offer book. So we just wanted to create resources as people are used to, where you can just flick through the book, have a look at a picture and get a rough guide to what feed is on offer using that book as a guide. And so we looked at a number of different green samples. We tried to do the fallows, the traditional pastures, medics, different cereal varieties, and then we also did the most common stubbles that are grazed. But we didn't actually look at pulse crops because we were basically looking at the dead plant material that the sheep are grazing and eating. All the samples were sent away for feed test, and we ended up producing the fantastic book, which you can pick a copy of up the back if you haven't already. And the result is a number of pages like this that you can have a quick look at. But more importantly than just creating the resource that we wanted, I feel that this project is a fantastic example of how we can all use BestwoolBestlamb to our advantage. There's a lot of training material out there, but because Australia is such a diverse country, it may not necessarily be what you need for your immediate area. There's plenty of opportunities out there to engage with others, apply for funding to help and create projects such as this feed on offer book that we've produced. And it's very easy just to be in your BestwoolBestlamb group, come to this conference, go to 4 or 5 meetings a year, life's cruisy, but you've got to get out of your comfort zone, get beyond that, work out what's missing, what would make your business better, and then do something about creating something to fill that gap. And then more importantly, share it for the good of the industry. So, thanks.
Authorised by Victorian Government, 1 Treasury Place, Melbourne.